Alright, so, summary for Descent Journeys in the Dark First Edition. Well, the best way to sum this up is this game is epic. This is, without a doubt, the dungeon crawl I had been looking for quite some time. This game just, it is so over the top in a wonderful, wonderful way. On the hero's turn, you feel invulnerable, like you can smash monsters left, right, and sideways, and you're just going to roll through this adventure, no problem. Then the Overlord turn rolls around, a couple sneaky cards get played, and everybody's back in town going, well, florp, that kind of sucked. And it just, normally swinginess can kind of irritate me in a game, but here it creates a wonderful tension and drama to the game that are just, I just don't feel that in other dungeon crawls I've played. I care more because I feel like there's a significant chance of defeat. Having played both the Overlord and the Heroes, the grass always seems greener on the other side. Everyone seems like, oh man, they're going to get this and I've got no chance. And then you play this great series of moves and you're like, ha, the game is mine. And it is so much more involved than most other dungeon crawl type games. What it does exceptionally well, in my opinion, is the Conquest System. It allows heroes to die and have that death mean something without a single death necessarily screwing up the game. In a lot of games, your hero dying either pretty much spells game over or it means very little in the grand scheme of things. I don't want to get too much into comparison with Descent 2 since we plan on doing separate videos, both to review and kind of compare the two. But really, the way death works in Descent 2 makes it feel kind of because really all the Overlord can do is camp around your body and just keep knocking you down as you stand back up, and it feels completely lacking in any kind of tension or real threat to the hero. Now, that's not to say Descent 1 is without flaws, of course. Without Road to Legend, you don't really have a campaign system per se. I mean, the book has some basic rules for starting out with a little more money and so on and so forth as you go on, but it's not really like linked adventures. You could dance around through the scenarios, do them in whatever order you felt like pretty much, and it lacks a meaningful continuity there, which is really important to this sort of game to my mind. You really need to feel like your adventures are building on each other and the forces of light and dark are growing steadily more powerful and approaching that grand confrontation in the end, where light or dark finally triumphs over the other, and it feels missing from Descent 1. Really, though, that's my main grievance to it. It would be kind of nice to have a little bit more of a variable element to defense. I mean, not as random as Descent 2, but a little more than just this is my static armor, you roll something, and well, maybe I stop it all, maybe I don't, and there you go. It doesn't feel so much like I actively contribute to my own defense.
Unless you have a shield.
Well, that's true, yeah. A shield does give you some options, but taking up one of your hands, it's only viable for certain characters, and so on and so forth. Now, there is a wealth of, player-created content for this game that can extend its life significantly if you're, at all the P&P sort. But even beyond that, the base game book comes with quite a few scenarios. It's very easy to make your own. There's a scenario editor available, and it's, oh man, this game is just so over the top. the bits. You have so many bits because there's so much going on in this game, and the effects, poison, keeping you from healing properly, and you wonder, can I afford to bring this hero back into the battle without the ability to heal him effectively? His death is going to cost me conquest points that maybe I can't afford to lose. And it's also a very innovative system. I don't think I mentioned earlier where the number on the bottom of the character sheet there in the bottom left corner is how many conquest points you lose when that character dies. So characters that start out more powerful than others are going to cost you extra conquest points when and if they ever die. So it's really, a double-edged sword. You could have a high conquest point character who's hard to kill, but basically has a bullseye painted on his head because the Overlord knows taking him down will burn through those points fast. It's in my game, it's Nanak, who is a 4-point character, almost the highest there is available. And yes, he's extremely hard to kill, but if he ever goes down, that's a lot of points down the drain. Now, it's another thing worth noting certainly is the figures. Oh, I love these guys. They're so much more significant in Descent 1 than most other games of the sort. I can't find... Oh, there we go. So we haven't actually glued them together or anything yet for easier storage, but this is the Descent 1 dragon. I mean, look at this beast. Compare him to a dragon from Descent 2. They're both very nice, but one of them feels much more significant in scale than the other. I mean, this guy is just much, much meatier. And it really helps with the aesthetic of the game. It's also nice that in first edition Descent you set up a single huge map, but you don't know what's in other areas until you open the door and get a look. So you know kind of the basic layout of the game, but you don't know what you're finding behind door, A, B, and C. When we first started this scenario with the Giant Brothers, when I opened the first door, I was expecting, well, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting to find one of the bosses, and in an unkillable form, no less. You can knock him down, but he gets right back up a couple turns later. And it just, oof, I was sitting there going, well, that's not so great for me. Let's see here. I struggled at 3 or 4 attacks, finally managed to bring him down, and then the flavor text of, oh, great, he's gonna be back. That's terrific. But it absolutely succeeds in involving both sides of the adventure, because the Overlord will be sitting there, with his hand of cards going, and you see him just racking up the threat points, stockpiling cards. Something horrible's coming, but you just got to keep plowing forwards, and then you open that door and the door explodes and a ceiling block falls on your head and you turn into a monkey and there's 40 monsters and you're like, ah.
Or that chest you thought was going to give you treasure turns into an ogre.
Yeah, chest turns into an ogre, hits you over the head and runs away. I mean, there's just so much crazy epic stuff to this game. It's an investment, to be sure, but to those who enjoy a serious dungeon crawl, this game is priceless. And with Road to Legend, it becomes just... It starts to border on almost war game level involvement. You're talking, easily 20 to 40 hours to finish a campaign, if not longer. Going through mission after mission, crossing this world board. But enough about Road to Legend. As it is, this is an amazingly intense and involving experience. And, my wonderful camera wife and I, as soon as we got a friend who had played before to teach it to us, just fell in love. We've been pulling it out every chance we get ever since. It has a semi-permanent residence on our gaming table at the moment. It's fantastic. I keep trying to talk myself into bringing it everywhere I'm going, and I have to keep reminding myself it's a little much for the casual gamer. It's not that the rules are necessarily too intense for most people, because really, as I've mentioned before, you only need one person who knows all the little fiddly background rules. It's not that difficult to run one character, or even to run the Overlord. Having a little player aid or something helps immensely. Just little rules reminders. And, it's all you really need is one person familiar. And if you can get other people to read the rulebook, great. But if not, oh well. So, definitely look into acquiring this if you enjoy a good dungeon crawl. However, if you're a little on the fence about dungeon crawls, this game is definitely an investment, and it has some things people might consider issues to it. The game definitely gets a bit easier for the players when they start getting the high level treasures, which is probably as it should be, but you can end up with situations like you saw in our run through where all of the treasure coming out seems geared towards the one character, who basically becomes a mobile super deity of destruction, and yet one or two or three of the other characters are sitting there going, gee, really wish I could do something. Would sure be nice if I could do something. And you can, of course, go to the store in town, sell, and buy new stuff. But, it's a thematic game. There's definite luck elements to it. And you may get circumstances where you just, for the life of you, cannot get a character to accomplish anything meaningful. And if that kind of luck and twist of fate bothers you, this might be a bit much of an investment for you. But if any of this at all sounds appealing, at the very least, see if you can't get a play in with someone else's copy. Find somewhere. At the least, borrow it. And if you're into dungeon crawls, get this before it gets any more expensive, because they're never going to remake this version. At least not that I'm aware of. So, that's pretty much it in a nutshell right there. Anything you'd like to add, Honey Peach?
Not that's pertinent to the review.
Alright then. Goofy sounds you'd like to make? Now's your chance.
It's more nitpicking than anything else.
Go for it.
Your character has 3 hands.
What?
Ronan has 3 hands.
3. Oh, snap. Okay, there's a useful correction. Apparently I had a 2-handed weapon and a shield equipped to my poor ranger. Ranger can't do anything over there. Oh, that poor guy. Okay, well, see, that illustrates what I was talking about there, with one character just cannot catch a break. Great, so he's probably about half dead at this point, if not completely dead. Alright, well, I will try and post the end results of this game that we haven't quite finished yet, but, hopefully we'll soon. Hope you enjoyed it. Questions, comments, hurled bricks, freshly baked cookies, whatever, feel free to leave comments or whatever. Beyond that, look forward to our following Descent 2 and comparison reviews, and that's about it. Get off your computer and go play some games.